How's it going, guys? My name is Jack. Welcome to my channel. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying warm because I don't know about you and where you are, but Melbourne just has skipped one whole season. We've gone from chilling at the beach one day now to snow falling on our mountains a week later. And right now, just nothing makes sense. We've hit all-time highs across all asset classes, and one of the main ones, obviously, that I talk about is property. I recently made a video saying that we've seen the biggest property price surges in 17 years, and of course, as soon as I release that video, we get an update to say, actually, it's not 17 years, it's 32 years. And by the time you see this video, it's probably the biggest boom that we've ever seen in history of ever. Once again, we've got the scenario where we have people talking about how this boom's going to last for at least another 2 to 3 years, whilst others are saying, just hold your horses, wait for another couple of months before the market starts to crash. So in this video, I just want to talk about exactly what's going on, my predictions for the property market, as well as a first principle basis that you can operate on so you never have to watch another one of these videos ever again. Now, if you like this video, be sure to give it a good old thumbs up. If it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can see more videos of me ranting about the property market. So first things first is you need to understand that every asset class has a cycle. So the property market is no different and operates on a 4-stage cycle that typically lasts around about 7 years. Now let's start with the phase that we're in right now, and it is the boom phase. Now the boom phase is obviously the most chaotic. It's the one where if you're walking down the street, every second conversation you hear is about interest rates or the property market, or so-and-so's made X amount of money doing a renovation. A boom phase is typically categorized by extremely high clearance rates, extremely high annual increases in median house price, typically in the high double digits. And it's also categorized by your Uber driver, your hairdresser, and random people in bars coming up to you to talk to you about interest rates and how much money can be made right now in property. The boom phase typically lasts 1 to 2 years, but eventually it reaches a peak where it transitions into the next phase, which is the correction or the downturn phase of the cycle. Just as any stock, whatever goes up too hard, too fast, and too furious must come down. It's not what you're thinking about. Get your mind out of the gutter. This is a family-friendly educational show. In the correction phase, we see demand and supply starting to swing the other way, where there becomes an oversupply of property and not enough demand to meet it. You'll see properties that have been listed at the end of the boom that are just slightly overpriced, that sit there on the market for a certain period of time before the vendor needs to adjust their pricing to meet the demand. You also know you're in this correction phase when you see the price start to trend downwards, clearance rates start to trend downwards, and rental prices stay stagnant. This phase lasts about 1 year and is followed by the stabilization phase, which ironically is when the property market bottoms out. The stabilization phase is actually quite an interesting one because it's when the market is perfectly balanced. There's the same amount of buyers and the same amount of sellers. During this phase, you'll see a lot of low quality listings stay on the market for a long period of time, whilst really high quality listings are still selling for very good prices. What's happening here is there's a lot of people that are scared to come into the market and are sitting on the sidelines waiting for the price to continue to drop to hit its bottom. What they're saying is they're seeing the median house price trend downwards because of the qualities of the listings that are being put on. You may also see listings where the property is sold significantly below its listing price because it's just been on the market for so long and a very clever purchaser has come in and lowballed them an offer which they have accepted. The stabilization phase can last up to 2 or 3 years. Once the market's bottomed out, there usually is some kind of stimulus that's either provided by industry professionals or by the government to start to see the next phase, which is the uplift. Now, the uplift is that first stage before we transition back and we see the full cycle happen of this whole property market. The first signs of an uplift is when you see rental demand increasing. This would suggest that there is a lot of people requiring to live in a location that previously didn't need to be there. It's also when you see more projects come to builders, developers that have done very well and secured themselves properties during the bottom of the market start getting plans to council, and generally a bit of activity that is happening in the background that the media and the average individual don't care about. And there'll be people that have been sitting on the sidelines waiting for the bottom of the market, getting back, realizing that the price is starting to trend in the other direction. What happens is there's a snowball effect of people trying to come in to try and get in at the low price, that the demand completely overshadows the supply of what's listed on the market. And we go through and it's another full cycle of the boom phase. Historically, we can look at every single year where the peak of the market has happened. Going back to the 1980s, we had a peak in 1981, 1987, 1994, 2003, 2010, and 2017. If we look closer and look at the specific years of what the last cycle looked like, we can go back to 2010, where we had the peak of the market. 2012, the market bottomed out with an upturn in 2013. The boom we had was roughly between the end of 2015 to the peak of the market in 2017, before it took another 2 years for it to bottom out at mid-2019. Looking at this, we were supposed to get a recovery, which we did in 2020, but obviously that was complicated by a certain event. Going by this timeline, what we would have expected was we would have expected a recovery period during 2021 with a boom in 2022 and 2023, with a market peak somewhere around about 2024. So that's a typical cycle, but what happens when there's government stimulus and super low interest rates chucked into the middle of all of this? The most recent example we've had of this is during the GFC in 2008, the government introduced the first home owners boost, which basically was a double of the first home owners grant at the time. We saw a massive influx of first home buyers in 2009 and then saw the market peak in 2010. The market peaked and started to trend downwards because we saw not only the abolishment of these incentives, but also the removal of previous laws that had been passed for foreign investment that were withdrawn in 2009. All of this summarized by a 20% decrease in mortgage applications, meaning there's a lot less people wanting to purchase property. So this looks oddly familiar. We have some kind of pandemic, some kind of global situation where the government steps in, provides some sort of incentive, and we see a massive first home buyer influx. I wouldn't be surprised if we replicate exactly what happened in 2008, but the question really remains as to how long these incentives are staying. At the moment, they're due to expire in July 2021, but we don't know if they're going to extend them, downgrade them, or completely remove them. Now, we need to remember that 2019 was the bottom of the market, so 2020 was always going to be the year that the property market recovered. With these government incentives, I think what's happened is basically we've skipped majority of the uplift phase and gone straight into a boom phase. So we're expected to see a peak that's going to happen a little bit earlier with the government incentives and the super low interest rates. All the buyers that are in a position to buy right now are going to pile into the market over the next 2 years. Given that Australia has for the longest time suffered from a housing shortage, in combination with the highest percentage of household saving and this now increase in working from home, I believe that people are more than happy to start spending more money in their homes, knowing that they're going to spend more time there than ever before. One other thing to remember is that although the property market may look ridiculous, we've only just passed the peak of 2017. So if you've made it this far into the video, once again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me rant. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And this is my big prediction, and I hope this ages well. Here goes. My prediction is the current Australian property market is going to peak in April of 2023. In the property market, everything takes a little bit of time. A boom market has historically always lasted about 2 years from when the media starts covering to the absolute peak of the market. So although we may see a massive increase across 2021, we're still going to see continued increase in pricing in 2022. Now, the general prediction is that in 2021, we're going to see 20-odd% increases, followed by a single-digit increase in 2022. But it will still mean that we don't hit the peak of the market till 2023. This is together with the information that I think the banks have given me, and the fact that all big banks right now have the best fixed rate interest rate for 2 years. The expectation is that the economy recovers and there will be an interest rate hike in 2 years' time. So if you're sitting on the sidelines right now, waiting for the perfect property to come up, or been sitting there since pre-pandemic waiting for this property market cliff, then you'll know that it doesn't exist. People seem to have a very short-term memory because we were getting the exact same articles in 2015 on the speculation about whether it's going to be a boom or a bust. But what historically has always stayed true is the property market cycle. So next time you see either a whole lot of hype or a whole lot of nothing about the property market, all you have to do is understand where we are in the cycle based on that timeline, and you get an understanding of how to play the market, whether as a buyer or a seller. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I hope that gave you a bit of insight as to what is actually going on right now, outside of all the news and all the noise that we're hearing about all-time highs and Dogecoin and everything else that's going on. Hope you enjoyed that video and hope that gave you a bit of logic to work with so that you never have to listen to any of these random news articles ever again, and you don't have to watch another video on property pricing ever again. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.